Hello everybody, we shall continue with the Vanik YouTube class for civil service examinations. In the last class, we had completed Government of India Act 1858 and also discussed their salutary features. Today we shall discuss various council acts which brought some institutional changes in the Indian system. Which brought some institutional changes with institutional changes that we can say. So we shall start. Indian Council Act. There have been three Council Acts that has been enacted in 1861, 1892, and 1909. There have been three Council Acts. The first among them is the Indian Council Act 1861. You can see on the screen that the first point of the act is that it is an important landmark in the constitutional history as it introduced a grain of popular element, that means introduced representative system. Okay, that is the best part of the things. Beginning represented by associating Indians with lawmaking powers, that means added some non-official members to the Governor General's Executive Council. Formerly, there were no Indians. So it introduced, you can say it laid the foundation for a representative government in India. And it nominated some Indian as non-official members to the executive councils, like some Raja of Banaras or Maharaja of Patiala and Sir Dinakar Rao. Some people were nominated as non-official members without voting power. Raja of Banaras and Maharaja of Patiala. Maharaja of Patiala, history is silent about their name also. Patiala and Sir Dinakar Rao. These three members were nominated to Viceroy's executive councils. It restored the legislative powers of the Bombay and Madras province presidencies. It restored. That was centralized in the, you can say, in the 1773 Act, and it was now decentralized, and the Bombay and Madras presidencies were given legislative powers. That means it restored legislative powers. So it restored legislative powers of the Bombay and Madras presidencies, which were centralized under 1773 Regulating Act. It also provided for the establishment of new legislative councils for Bengal, Northeast, Western Frontier Province and Punjab. Three provinces were provided with legislature. They were called legislative councils, and these provinces were Northwestern Frontier Provinces and Punjab and Bengal. And they were established in the respective years: 1862, that is Bengal; 1866, that is Punjab; and 1897, 1866 is NWP, and 1897 is Punjab. Another system that it gave recognition to the portfolio system. That means introduced. You can say it introduced the introduced. You can say introduced. That is the Council of System, Indian Executive Council to function as a cabinet. So that cabinet system was introduced. You can say cabinet system because the departments were the business of the government were categorized into various departments, and that is called portfolios. The portfolio was introduced already by Canning in 1859, and this act gave it legal recognition, or a legal sanction. That is to be remembered also. Then another thing, it empowered the viceroy to issue ordinance, means introduced ordinance making power in the absence of legislature, and he could make without concurrence of the council during an emergency. However, that life was about for a period of 6 months. So it is not similar to the ordinance making power that is enshrined in our constitution at present, but it was the beginning of the ordinance making power, and hence that it is said it is a hallmark act, it is a watershed act in the constitutional history of India. You can see there are a lot of changes took place in the Indian constitutional system. First of all, it introduced representative system. Second of all, it restored or decentralized legislative powers. Third, it provided for establishment of legislature in certain provinces. It introduced cabinet system, or turned the executive council into a cabinet by dividing into various ministries or portfolios, and also introduced the most important part of this, that is ordinance making power. Okay, so the additional members that were elected or non-official members, they did not take part in the discussion, and the role was only advisory. The non-official members of the executive council were not interested in attending the meeting, moreover, because they were not, and also moreover, under this act, they were not bound to attend. They did not have any right to vote. They were Indian members of the council were not eligible to oppose any bill, and most often the bills were passed one sitting without discussion. Okay, so these are the outstanding phenomena of 1861 Council Act. Then we can discuss some other acts that we have not mentioned here. 1892, you can write that. Indian Council Act 1892, Indian Council Act. This is the second Council Act. Indian Council Act 1892. It made various amendments to the composition and functions of the council, most notably the expanded the members of the central and provincial councils. Yes, it is known as Morley Minto because Morley was the Secretary of the State. Morley was Secretary of State. Okay, and Minto was the Viceroy of India at that time. So together, this act known as Morley Minto reforms. It was that increased a more representative system. You can say it is the beginning, or it is the that is the permanent representative system of popular element in India. It's a true attempt, although attempts were made in the 1861, but they were not actually the real representative system. But here this act was made. First of all, it increased the non-official members in the council, that is central council and provincial councils, from 16 to 60. That is sorry, it was sorry. This is we are discussing about Indian Council Act 1892. Sorry, so we have to mention focus on that. Okay, okay. So it is the second Council Act in Indian constitutional system. It increased the non-official members in the council. It increased the central and provincial councils and central councils, the central council, central legislative council, the central council from 10 to 16, and other provincial councils like Bombay, it was increased in Bombay, Madras to 20, Bengal 20, and Oath to 20. So number of provincial councils were increased. Provincial councils' strength was also increased under this act. Okay, now members of the council could now debate budget, could now so extended legislative powers of the members, legislative powers by giving them authority to discuss budget without having the ability to vote. Okay, made indirect provisions for the use of elections. First of all, it introduced principle of elections. It introduced it introduced principle of elections. Principle of election, although it was not election in the true sense of the term, the certain members nomination for non-official members to Central Legislative Council by certain local bodies like local bodies, Bengal Chamber of Commerce, municipalities, universities, trade association, jamindars. They could nominate for non-official members to the Central Legislative Council. So, as Indians were given to nominate Indians, hence the act is said to have introduced principle of election, so to say. This act is significant milestone in the constitutional and political history of India. It increased the size of the legislative council, that is a hallmark characteristic. It is a first step towards representative government in modern India because it allowed Indians to choose some non-official members. Okay, that created the stage for the development of revolutionary forces in India because this only made a minor concession. So after this act, as Indians had hoped, so it was hope against hope. So that it led to the emergence of revolutionary forces, revolutionary terrorism in India during this time. So that was not up to the expectation of the Indians. Okay, so this is the second Council Act. Then the last Council Act was your Indian Council Act 1909. So 1909 is a hallmark act because it attempted to bring certain salutary changes in the constitutional system. First of all, we have to remember that this act is known as Morley Minto Act because it is named after Secretary General of State Morley and Viceroy of India Minto. So it is called Morley Minto Act. Then it is the first attempt to introduce a representative system and popular element in India because element of election to fill both central and legislative council as well as provincial legislative council was introduced. Okay, then it increased the additional members of the Governor General Legislative Council from 16 to 60. So it is also that the additional members of the Governor General Council was added to 16 to 60, and at the same time the Legislative Council at both levels were also enlarged by empowering them to discuss any matter, raise questions including supplementaries. Although the non-official members were allowed to discuss and raise questions and discuss the annual financial statement budgets. Okay. Another, but the notable drawback, or you can say a negative phenomenon of this act, that it introduced a communal electorate system. Apart from these, the good things, it also made a very initiated a very destructive phenomenon in Indian context, that is called your Indian communal system. So that is most notable factor, that it's introduced separate electorate system by providing a separate electorate constituency for Muslims, thereby sowing the seed of communal separatist feelings. And Minto is said to be the father of communal electorate system. The objective was to divide and rule, and to inculcate or infuse a sense of divisiveness among the community so that they could not remain united. That the goal of the British was realized, and that possible. Okay, so that is the separate electorate system, or otherwise known as communal electorate system. Then another notable thing that is for good is that it introduced first Indians to be a Satyendra Prasad, who became a official law members in the executive council of the governor or the viceroy, and Satyendra Prasad Sinha was the first law member of the council. He's the first Indian to be associated as official member. Okay, so these are the notable factors. First of all, increase in the size of the governor general's additional members, and also it increased, it introduced communal or separate elected system, and it also allowed elections to the legislative councils, and it allowed members to discuss and participate in the raise questions and discuss in the annual financial statements. So, to some extent, in a nutshell, we can say that it expanded legislative base, legislative powers, and provided for Indians to participate more and more. So, these are the three council acts. So, take a view of that also, and these are three principal council acts. They were regarded very milestones in the legislative history of India. So this is the beginning. Next act that was enacted was Government of India Act 1919. So it is a post World War reforms. It was a post World War reforms, you can say, and the reforms measurably sort of satisfying the demands. 1909 Act or modeling into reforms uh, fell miserably short of satisfying the demands of Indians, most importantly, inviting the anger of Indian nationalists for introducing the vicious device of communal electorate. So that was a vicious device, that was a very destructive thing, and it enraged the Indian leaders who had good faith in British. So it had irritated them, it had angered them. So the nationalists faced that colonial powers had no intention for actually conceding any constitutional reforms in the country and perpetuating their own rule by adopting the policy of divide and rule. This led to an agitation across the country and a demand for home rule and Swaraj, spearheaded by extremists who had captured the reins of Congress after First World War. Various home rule leagues were set up in different parts of the country, especially by Tilak at Pune and Ani Besant at Adair, Madras. So, in view of the growing home rule demand and discontentment among the leaders, the British government responded positively and announced its future policy towards India in a statement on August 29, 2017. Okay, so the task of implementing the policy that was declared in 1917 was assigned to Secretary of State Lord Montagu and Governor General Viceroy of India Lord Chelmsford. The report eventually formed the basis of the Government of India Act 1919. Hence, it is known as Montagu Chelmsford Reform Act. The act is very important because it is the first constitutional arrangement in India. There are a lot of things, but we are discussing some important aspects of this act. You can have more study, more points from different books, but remember the points we are discussing are very important. Okay, first remember these points, then you can proceed to others. So, first of all, it demarcation of central and provincial subjects it was there. It is called and introduced a concept or principle of federation. You can say it's introduced the principle of federation indirectly. Principle of federation because central and state subjects were divided. Another notable part is it introduced direct diarchy in the provinces. Introduced diarchy in the provinces, that is called separation or division of governor's power in the provinces into transport powers and reserve powers. The transport powers such as irrigation, finance, there are various factors, various transport powers were there. Irrigation, finance, law, so that was there. And on the transport powers were of low importance, that is agriculture, health, that were subjected to governors and governors' decision on the advice of the ministers responsible to the provincial legislative council. So whenever governor made any law, he had to consult the ministers responsible to the provincial legislative councils. But in matters of reserved powers, reserved subjects, the governor took his own decisions on the advice of his own executive councils, which was purely dominated by British officials. So that was called diarchy, dual system. Dual system is a division in the executive powers, means the executive powers means the governor's powers were divided into transport power and reserve powers. And transport powers there were kept some simple but some not so important subjects, and that decision with regards to the subjects was made by governor in consulting the provincial legislative council of the ministers in governors who would administer them with the help of own executive councils, with the help of the ministers responsible to the provincial legislative councils, and with regards to with regards to the reserve power, he made his own decisions on the basis of the recommendation of his own executive council. Another thing that introduced bicameralism and direct election in the country. Okay, so Indian Legislative Council was divided into bicameral legislature. Today we have bicameral legislature. So the bicameral legislature was called Upper House and Lower House. The Upper House was called Council of States and the Lower House was called Legislative Council or Central Legislative Assembly. The council had 140, somewhere it is 145 also. So that is whether whatever million, but 104 were elected for 3 years and 40 were to be nominated. That was the strength of the Central Legislative Council under this act. That is the first house, lower house. Then the upper house had 60 members, 34 elected and 26 nominated for 5 years. So the term of Central Legislative Council was CLA. CLA was that is 144. Somewhere it is 145 also. Not sure. 144 is mostly mentioned in many books. And there are also Central Legislative Council of States. Council of States, it is 60. That was the strength, and the term was 3 years and term was 5 years. And the majority of the members of the both houses were direct elections, obviously, because 104 and 34 members were elected. It required that three of the six members of the Viceroy's Executive Council were to be official members to be Indian also. That is an empowerment of Indians. Three of them were to be Indian. Then, like the Morley Minto Act or the Indian Council Act 1909, it also introduced or extended electorate system for Sikhs, Indian Christians, and Anglo-Indians and Europeans. It is enlargement of, you can say, enlargement of your enlargement of what? Enlargement of your separate electorate system, separate electorate system, enlargement of separate electorate system. And it introduced limited franchise because the voting rights was not conferred to all citizens. It was conferred to those who are property and education and tax. So some criteria were maintained to provide voting rights. That is called limited franchise. It was not universal adult franchise. Another notable aspects of the Government of India Act is it provided for the establishment of a Central Public Service Commission to conduct recruitment examination to Indian Civil Service and other examinations. And the Central Public Service Commission was set up in 1926, and this commission came to be known as Union Public Service Commission after independence. It also separated provincial budget from central budget, that we can say the division of power of the federal system was introduced, but it's not written that federal. Another notable things also not mentioned here, that is it also provided for the establishment of the office of High Commissioner of India in London for larger representations. So these are the hallmark characteristic of this great act, but there are a lot of things, but we are discussing some important aspects of this act, Government of India Act 1919. And the act came into effect on 1st April 1921. Remember, the act came into effect on 1st April 1921. Alright. So these are the major acts. So it is 1919. It is the first and foremost constitutional arrangement in India for the Indians. As you know, the background was so deeply tense, and the failure of Indian Council Act 1909 to satisfy Indian needs, and most important, the venomous, the poisonous system, popularly called separate electorate system, was quite disembarrassing, quite embarrassing for the Indians, quite it created discontentment among the Indians, and it was a vicious principle, so to say. So, due to satisfy the Indian anger, or uh, to make them understand that British are not anti-Indians, so the British Parliament enacted this act. It's brought certain changes, some unforeseen changes in the constitutional system, and hence it is called the first constitutional arrangement of India. Another notable feature of the Act was Government of India in 1919 was to establish a statutory commission to review the working of the Act. But this act was not that the Act did not provide that a statutory commission to be established to review the working of the Act after 10 years of the enactment. But due to the emerging political scenario, or due to the volatile political scenario, and somewhat tense political scenario, the British government established the commission 1927, and it sent it to India in 1928. And the commission submitted its report in 1930. The commission was a seven-member committee under the chairmanship of John Simon, hence popularly known as Simon Commission. Remember, it was a statutory commission because it was established under Government of India Act 1919. The commission was boycotted by all Indians. As you can see on the screen, we have written that it was boycotted means no Indian was satisfied or was convinced by the composition of the commission because it consisted of all white members. Not in any Indian was provided, although the act was the commission came to review the act related to Indian interest. And the commission had its recommendation despite protest, despite agitation throughout the country. The commission made its report published, and one of the prime recommendations or some prime recommendation of the commissions were that the abolition of dietary that was provided in the act in the provinces under Government of India Act 19. The commission viewed that such principles, such practice should be abolished. But it meant recommendation for the extension of the responsible governments of past the abolition of poverty was there, and extension of responsible government in the provinces means more and more members into the provincial councils should be elected in the opinion of the commission. It also provided for the establishment of a federation of British India, that means comprising British India and princely states, and also it recommended for the continuation of separate electorate system. So these are the four major recommendations of the Simon Commission. That is a major recommendation of the Simon Commission. We can see that first is abolition of dietary, and second is the extension of responsible government, and third is the establishment of Federation of British India and British India princely states. So that is the 1, 2, and establishment of a federation. Okay, 1 minute. Establishment of Federation of British India and princely states. Continuation of electorate system. And it also recommended that Burma should be separated from the British India and should have provided a constitution of its own, the Simon Commission. And why it is more important because the recommendations of the Commission Act, that is popularly known as Government of India Act 1935. Okay, Government of India Act 1935 is based upon the recommendation of the Simon Commission. Okay, now we shall go to the Government of India Act 1935. Okay, another thing is communal award. Communal award is also related to separate electorate system. It was declared by the then British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald, popularly known as MacDonald Award. It favored separate electorate to depressed classes, laborers, and Gandhi protested it vehemently protested against such step of the British government, and ended in Pune Pact signed between Gandhiji and Ambedkar on behalf of the depressed classes. So last and major act is the Government of India Act 1935. It was the second milestone towards a completely responsible government in India after Government of India Act 1919. It contained 321 sections and 10 schedules. First of all, it is the largest ever act, even in the constitutional history of British India. Just recently, they have enacted another act which is larger than 35. So, 35 government is the one of the rarest act. It is the largest ever act enacted by British Parliament. It contained 321 sections, almost various detailed provision of the Indian administration. And later, it influenced the constitution largely. Okay, so let us just examine some notable aspects of the Government of India Act 1919. It provided for All India Federation consisting of provinces and princely states as units. So that was the hallmark characteristic, although the federation could not come off, but it was indeed a step towards Indian federation, and it is called the concept of federalism was institutionalized. And with regards to federation, it also provided for three lists that you can see written on the screen, that is federal list, concurrent list, and union provincial list. So today have union list, state list, and concurrent list. So this is called division of power, and this is the example of the federation. But the residuary powers were given to the viceroy according to text. Residuary powers mentioned here refer to the powers of the subjects not mentioned in the three lists. List 1, list 2, and list 3. But now under Indian constitutional system, the residuary powers are vested in the center under Article 248. So therefore, this is the things, federation. Now you can see other things. The central legislature remained bicameral apart from the Governor General's veto. A bill passed by the central legislature was also subject to veto by the Crown. Remained bicameral apart from the veto. Bill passed by the central legislature was also subject to veto by the Crown. Okay. Okay, that was the things. It abolished diets in the provinces and introduced provincial autonomy in its place. So the diarchy that was introduced in Government of India Act 1919 and was also provided. Such abolition had already been recommended by Simon Commission, hence the Act provided for the abolition of diarchy and in place of it provided provincial autonomy. However, it provided diarchy at the center, which could not take place. Introduced bicameralism, 6 out of 8 provinces at that point of time. So bicameralism was provided in 6 provinces, and it further extended the separate electorate system for depressed classes and women, laborer. So it is another act. It is the third act that deals with the what deals with the communal or separate electorate system. So that is the things you have to remember, that it provided 6. Then extended franchise rights. It extended voting rights to other people. So near about 10% of Indian population were eligible to vote at that point of time. Okay. And it also provided for establishment of Federal Public Service Commission, Union Public Service, Provincial Public Service Commission, and Joint Public Service Commission for 2 or more provinces. These commissions were to be established to conduct examinations to different services at the center and states. Okay, these are the notable. Remember the 6 out of the 11 provinces, that is not 8 provinces, that is wrongly mentioned. You can check it. It is 11 provinces. 11 provinces were given the things, and such 11 provinces were Bengal, 6 provinces: Bengal, Bombay, Madras, the 3 principal areas, then Bihar, Assam, and United Provinces. So these are the 6 provinces which are provided with a bicameral setup. These are the 6 major provinces which are provided It abolished the Council of India, established by the Government of India at 1858. Secretary of State for India provided a team of advisors. The Indian Council that was provided, 15-member council was abolished under this act. In place of that it provided for advisors. Okay, sir. Classes. Cool. Okay. Sir, lots. खाली lots में LOTS lots of. मतलब ये lot of lots. LOTS features. हाँ लगे ना. Countable uncountable. हाँ. जेटा countable हो गया uncountable हो गया. हाँ सर. Lots of water है वो. मतलब ये तो features का countable ना features वाले. हाँ ऐसे. Okay. So that is Federal Public Service Commission and the Provincial Public Commission commissions. Okay, these are the things. Now the cabinet mission, that was yes another feature that the Reserve Bank of India was also provided under this act, which was set up in 1935 under the RBI Act 1934, and provided for a setting of a federal court that was set up in 1937. In fact, the act came into existence in 1st April 1937. 1st April. 1st April 1937, the act, the year of coming into effect. So you can see there are a lot of things made under Government of India Act 1935, which are the hallmark characteristic of the act. It is the major source of Indian Constitution. Later it influenced. So Indian Constitution is indeed indebted to the Government of India in 1935. Then peace mission is not there because it's a wartime suggestion, and it promised dominion status, but it was criticized by various Indian leaders, including Jawaharlal Nehru, Mahatma Gandhi, who termed it as a post-dated check will it and that is also things. But our concern is the latter concern is after 35 which cabinet mission. So in 1946 the cabinet mission was sent because British had already considered to grant freedom or independence to India by June 1948. Hence it sent a mission along consisting of three cabinet ministers of the British government at that point of time, that is Stafford Cripps, V. Alexander, and Patrick Lawrence. Hence, the commission is called Cabinet Mission. The Cabinet Mission arrived in India in 1946, yes, March, and it gave recommendations in the May in the same year. The Cabinet Reform Mission consisted of these famous members, that is Patrick Lawrence. Stafford Cripps, Secretary of State of India at that time, and A.B. Alexander. It recommended that communal representations restricted the communal representation, provided that all members of the interim cabinet would be Indians and there would be minimum interpretation by the Viceroy. It also provided for the formation of a constituent assembly, that is most important because the recommendation of the cabinet mission succeeded in the establishment of communal, that is constituent assembly. So the constituent assembly on democratic principles. It recognized Indian right to secede from the Commonwealth to be separated. It provoked for a weak center, and all subjects other than the Indian subjects and all other resident parts will be vested in the provinces. So it provided for a weak center, which was not possible in Indian context later. So on the recommendation of the cabinet mission, Constituent Assembly of India was established and making of the constitution started. But before discussing the making of the constitution, let us learn about Indian Independence Act 1947. We shall discuss other things. Okay. So Indian Independence Act is the major act that the last act of the British government for India. It ended the British rule and British paramountcy in 1950, 15th August 1947. It made a declaration of the partition of India into India and Pakistan and declared them two dominions. The Pakistan would comprise East Bengal, West Punjab, Sindh and Sylhet district of Assam, Sylhet district of Assam, that is a haphazard combinations. Indian states like princely states were to join India or to join Pakistan or to remain independent. And out of the 552 dominions, 552 somewhere it is written 552 princely states, 549 joined and three later joined like Hyderabad in 1948 by police action, 1948, and then your Junagadh in Gujarat in 1950 and Jammu and Kashmir in 1947 by instrument of accession signed between Jawaharlal Nehru and Hari Singh. So this is the last chapter act. Remember that these major acts 35 and 47, Indian Independence Act and Government of India Act 1935 were abolished under Article 395 of the Indian Constitution. So together these acts were abolished. Okay. So Government of India Act 35 and your Indian Independence Act 1947 were abolished under Article 395. Right. So these are your historical background we have covered. We shall now go to some questions. Okay, you can deal with the questions, but I cannot see what is your views if you look it. So what will be the answer to question 1? Okay, the answer to question 1 will be A. There is no separation of power in the that is, you can say, there is no separation of power. Okay, was the Governor General of British Indian when Constituent Assembly started functioning? That is Lord Lord Constituent Assembly started functioning 1946. Wavell. Lord Wavell. B. Which government of India provided for the establishment of All India Federation and introduced provincial autonomy? 1935. C. Okay, number 3 C, number 2 B, Who among the following designed the June 3 plan? It is popularly known as Mountbatten Plan. So it is designed by Lord Mountbatten. So option will be B. So yes, okay. Which among the following introduced the system of communal representation for Muslims only? We have discussed today. So the answer will be it is 1900 introduced. It is Charter Act, not Charter Act. It is wrongly written. This Council Act, Indian Council Act 1909. So please check it. Okay. Now the present constitution was framed under Cripps Mission, Cabinet Mission, Wavell Plan, Mountbatten Plan. So that is Cabinet Mission. Present constitution was framed under the this Cabinet Mission who recommended for Constituent Assembly. So answer is B. Now we'll turn to the next questions. Which among the following is not correct about Government of India of 1935? So that was 35. It abolished diarchy at the center. Exactly not diarchy at the center. It abolished diarchy in the provinces. In the provinces means states, not. In fact, it provided for the diarchy at the center, but it was not implemented. So answer A will be there. Other options like provided for a federal Supreme Court is correct. Provided for a federal public service council is correct. Division of powers between central and state under the federal list, state list, and concurrent list is also correct. Okay. Next, the first Governor General of India. The first Governor General of India was, as you know, Lord Warren Hastings. Option A, Lord Warren Hastings in 17 under Regulating Act. Sorry. That is not Governor General of Bengal was Lord Warren Hastings, but it is Lord William Bentinck. Lord William Bentinck was the Governor General of India under Charter Act 1833. So in 1934, 33 Act. Next, direct election and bicameralism was introduced in Direct election and bicameralism was introduced in Government of India Act 1919. Exactly, Government of India Act 1919, direct elections, bicameralism in the province center. In the center, so it is C. The portfolio system was introduced in the portfolio system was introduced in. Okay. Just let me correct it first. Let me see it will be corrected or not. The options are correct. Incorrect. So the portfolio system was introduced in 1861 Act. Okay. So answer will be A. And I told you it introduced the cabinet system. So answer will be A. Who among the following is considered as the father of civil service in India for his contribution to its introduction? Father of civil service in India was Lord Cornwallis. Lord Cornwallis modernized and rationalized, laid the foundation of the modernized and rationalized the civil service system. Although Warren Hastings introduced civil service, but Cornwallis modernized it and separated it covenanted and non-covenanted services. Lord Cornwallis is called father of civil service. In 1786 towards the end of 18th century. Okay. So that was the things. Lord Cornwallis, very salutary contributions. Which of the following is not associated with separate electorate system? Not associated with. That is 1909 is associated with communal separate electorate system, and it is also, and it is 1932 is also related to communal separate electorate, but Indian Council Act is not at all related to it. The Central Legislative Council was established under Charter Act 1853. Okay, Central Legislative Council. It is under Actor Charter Act 1853. First time Central Legislative Council was provided. A. You understand? It is D. Because 1909, I am repeating this question. Why this answer is D? Because in 1909, Muslims were provided. In 1909, Sikhs, वगैरह सब Christians, Anglo-Indians, Europeans, etc. Communal recommendation 1932 recommended for depressed classes, women, etc. But 1992 there is no mention about it because it was first time provided in 1909. Which is the following was not a recommendation of Simon Commission. Not a recommendation of Simon Commission. Simon Commission came to India in 1927 and reported in 1930. And abolition of diarchy was one of the recommendations. Establishment of Federation of British India and Princely State was one of the recommendations. Continuation of illiterate system was also recommendations. Then answer is D. Who among the following is called the father of common independence system in India? Lord Minto, because he was the man behind the introduction of communal electorate system. Okay, so whenever you are watching this video, whenever you have a doubt, please write it in the comment box. I will attend them gradually, but try to understand all the measures, all the features, principles, okay, clearly. The first ICS officer of India, and that is Satyendra Nath Tagore, Prasad Tagore, Satyendra Prasad Tagore, or Satyendra Nath Tagore, in 1863. In 1863, he was the first Indian to qualify. was the first Governor General of Odisha when it became a separate, was the Governor of Odisha, Sir Austin Hobart. Remember, the separate province for Odisha was provided in 1935 Act under the recommendation of Simon Commission also. Then who among the following were the members of the cabinet mission? All of them were the members of the cabinet mission. Patrick Lawrence, Stafford Cripps, and A.B. Alexander. They were the members of the cabinet mission who had recommended for the establishment of the Constituent Assembly. So you can say answer is D. Now the system of dual government was introduced in 1784, if you remember. Pitt's India Act, Regulating Act, First Charter Act, First Indian Council Act. Which of the following is a correct chronological? First Council Act. B. So now proceed to Can be proper reasons for dissatisfaction of Indian nationalist leaders against the popular Parliamentary Reform Act 1909. Sir, sir. Okay, the next question is which of the following statements can be proper reasons for dissatisfaction of Indian members over the Monument Act? Parliamentary reform did not aim at establishment of a parliamentary system of government in the country. No such things. Did not aim at. It's true. It provided for the retention of the final decision on all the questions in the hands of irresponsible executive. Yes. Here, irresponsible executive means the British Executive Council or Governor General's Executive Councils. Okay. So both of them are correct. Both of them are correct. Match list with list 2. Indian Council Act 1861. which will match with introduced representative system. 1892 introduced principle of elections. You are getting. And 1784 introduced Indian affairs under the government control of the British government. That means board of control. The board of control was established. So board of control is was taking after the political affairs or Indian affairs. Then Government of India Act, DIAC. So that is 1 3124 3124B, which of the following is correct regarding the Simon Commission? It was constituted in 1927, submitted report 1930. It was a statutory commission. It was constituted to inquire into the report working of the 1919. All of them are correct. And I told you why it was called statutory, because it was established under the Act. So both 1 and 2, that is D. The Government of India Act 1935 and the Constitution of India are both lengthy documents. Reasons: the Government of India Act 35 was taken as a model and substantially incorporated Constitution of India. Both are correct, and both A and R are correct. R is the correct explanation of A. The first Law Commission of India was established in 1834 and it was chaired by Thomas Babington Macaulay. So both are correct. Both are correct. Okay, dears. So we have completed your that is, you can say, the historical background. Next class we shall be starting with the making of the constitution, and it is a short chapter, so keep watching our classes. Okay, I shall bring you the new chapter next class. We shall go slowly but steadily. Prepare well. you can do. So cover as many chapters as you are taught, and get a good book also if possible, and consistency, maintain consistency in understanding the things, in getting the things wherever you are maybe. But if you avail yourself our classes regularly, then it will definitely help you in getting success and in realizing your dreams. Okay, so civil service is not a matter of day. It takes long time to cover all the chapters. So the initiative of Bani, the mega institution, is quite salutary, quite noteworthy here, because it is helping out those students who cannot afford to be physically present in the classroom, and also those who cannot afford the cost of it. But we are maintaining the same quality as you are not viewing this directly, so we are unable to hear your doubts. But if any time you find a doubt, please put your comment in the comment box. We will definitely respond as when we come across such type of doubts. It's not that key, you will not be cleared of your doubts. Every time we will try, but it is up to you to go through the classes again, and you can also suggest what other things can be done to improve the standard of classes, and what else you want also. Alright, so we'll possibly be come back on next class in that is the next week with the same schedule, as we are finished. We have already finished a chapter, and it will be there is no sufficient time to complete the next chapter, so I'm forced to end the class here. Okay, so by the next class we shall be starting with the next class. Okay. Thank you very much for watching us.